So, Angela, I wanted to ask you, we've had this wonderful conversation about MPAs and about what it takes to create them, protect them effectively, why that matters for the future. What are we not talking about at this conference? About what are the issues that are affecting ocean health and harming coastal communities that we haven't discussed and that we should be talking about in order to create the change that we want?
Sure. So, half a day, everybody, from the island of Saipan. My name is Angelo. I just want to tell you about this necklace that I'm wearing. This was given to me by an indigenous leader on Saipan named Sinta Kaipat, who passed away last year. And I was one of the 3 indigenous leaders who were invited to the designation of the Mariana Trench, Pacific Remote Islands, and Rose Atoll monuments. And I wore this 16 years ago to the White House. And it's been 16 years and there's still no management plan for the Mariana Trench. There's 2 staffers on the island. Everybody else is based in Hawaii. So I've been working on this for a long time, and I consider myself one of the architects of 30 by 30. I helped write the resolution in 2016. I actually worked for Donna for a whole bunch of years, and we created protected areas all around the world. And 30 by 30, it's got a lot of strengths. Look at this room. It's got buy-in at the highest levels of government. Funders are pouring money into it. It's measurable. It's easy to communicate. It's a really good metric. But it has some real shortcomings because it doesn't take into account my story. The Mariana Trench was one of these first large protected areas that Enrique, sorry, I forgot your name for half a second. Enrique was talking about. He says we need 200 more of them. And, it was designated 16 years ago, but it hasn't been implemented. And I'll be honest, some of the shortcomings of 30 by 30 is that it's led to a lot of protected areas that are unjust, a lot of areas that are not implemented, and a lot of areas that are poorly designed. And you look at the United States, 99.5% of our protected areas are in the U.S. Pacific territories. Is that just? We talked about needing, how many, 200 more large protected areas? We've run out of colonies to protect. Where are these places going to go? Are they going to go off the coast of Greece? They're not. The 2/3 of the large protected areas, the marine reserves, are in the U.S. Pacific territories. Sorry, not the U.S. Pacific territories, but the Pacific territories of France and the U.K. And the United States. So we're not talking about justice. I do think that we can overcome this. I think we need to go beyond 30 by 30. 30 by 30 has been great. Just look at the movement that it's created. But we need to start thinking about other measures of conservation success. What are the social and equitable measures for how success is defined? How about beach access? In the United States, there are cultural and legal barriers keeping people of color away from the ocean, and we don't have access. I'm looking at this countdown. This ends in 30 seconds. I was brought as the indigenous person, and I'm not given enough time to tell my story. But I'm here now, and I've got 20 seconds. I just want to close with, we need to go beyond 30 by 30 and start thinking about different ways to define conservation success. Some of these areas are not going to be big, and that's okay. Think about places like the Chesapeake Bay. It's only 10,000 square kilometers. This is a bay near the United States. But the cultures of fishing and of oysters, should be celebrated, but for a lot of people in this room, we would say the Chesapeake Bay isn't big enough to fund because it's only 10,000 square kilometers. And there are places all around the world that have similar issues. But I did want to take a moment to actually answer your question. You asked me, what are we not talking about? If I were to go home to Saipan and I were to ask my people, what are the 3 biggest threats to the ocean? They would say, the military, and the military. The U.S. military is one of the largest emitters of carbon pollution in the world. They emit more than Denmark and Sweden, massive amounts of carbon. Real threats, we just give them a free pass. We should hold the militaries of the world to account to meet biodiversity and climate change goals. I would also love if this ocean community just made more room for us to talk about the issues of colonialism and racism. I do feel like Indigenous people, you love to have us on stage, we sing, we dance, we welcome you, we pray for you, but we don't get the opportunity to talk about our real everyday lives. And so I hope when we go to France next year, that we do get to talk about some of those issues. So 30 by 30 is great. I had a paper today. In 2000, at the start of the pandemic, we had protected 7.9% of the ocean. We're now at 8%. So in the last 4 years, with all of the amazing commitments, we've protected 0.1% of the ocean. And if you do a trend line, it's going to take us 880 years to achieve 30% protections on the ocean. So that should be a flashing red light to everybody in this room that things are not going well. We need to do it faster. We need to do it more equitable. And I also want to make room for no-take protected areas because I do believe in them, but you can't just force them on Indigenous peoples living in Pacific Islands. Which is ironic because my life's work has been forcing no-take protected areas on Indigenous Pacific Islanders. I do want to point that out as well. So it needs to be less about adding up how do we get to 30% and what counts. The real question we have to ask ourselves is, what do we do now? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Angelo.